girlfriend of a Boston police officer whose body was found
in the murder trial of Karen Reed after the jury said it was unable to
they
reach
will
a
retry
verdict.
Karen Reed
is
after a judge declared
Welcome back to The Alternate, where we follow America's biggest trials. And you know what today is? Day 7 of the Karen Reed retrial. Now, if you have not caught up on day 6, go back, because my friend Margot gave us a total recap and Jennifer McCabe took the stand yesterday. Part of the testimony to understand what we are also going to talk about today. She started her testimony cool as a cucumber, but listen, it took a sharp turn under cross-examination. So let's break it down. We pick back up with Jennifer McCabe recounting the chaotic morning of January 29th, 2022. This is with the prosecution. She's much calmer with the prosecution, which I can understand. I mean, clearly she's on their side. She told the jurors that she, Karen Reed, and Carrie Roberts were out searching for John. And according to McCabe, Karen was frantic, shouting crazy things. But the one thing she kept saying is she was shouting, "I hit him, I hit him, I hit him." And remember, Carrie Roberts also testified to that same statement. But here's the twist. Neither of those women ever told the grand jury about that phrase. Not then. But now it's central to their story. McCabe says as soon as they got there, she saw Karen run over to John, and so she called 911.
I don't see blankets, Carrie.
911, what's emergency?
Yes, I need someone to come immediately to 34 Fairview Road, Canton, Mass.
What's going on?
There's a guy unresponsive in the snow.
In the snow at 34?
He passed out, yes. 34, the Albert resident, yes. I just pulled up and found him.
Okay, 34 Fairview?
34 Fairview, Canton, Mass, yes.
911 is on recorded. Where's your emergency? Hello?
Yes, I'm sorry. Can you come to 34 Fairview Road in Canton?
34 Fairview?
Yes, there's a man unresponsive in the snow.
Okay. Is he blue at all?
Yeah, you've got to get here, okay?
Okay. What's going on? Is he face down?
We just flipped him over.
Okay. And who's that in the background? Is that someone related?
Okay, that's his girlfriend. His name is Jen McCabe.
Okay, how old is he?
John is 46 years old.
46. How long has he been outside?
I don't know. I don't know. He got out of the car and
is he breathing?
A couple of hours. Is he, Carrie? Is he? I don't know if he's breathing. There are two women trying to do his body heat, and they're hysterical.
Okay, can you just try to ask him? I know it's tough, but we already have the fire department going. They just got to know if he's breathing.
Is he breathing, you guys? No. It doesn't seem to be breathing.
Okay, do they know how to do CPR? Do they want to attempt CPR?
Can you guys, Carrie, get up. Can you guys do CPR? No, I guess he's gone.
Okay, they don't feel comfortable doing so?
She also described being asked by Karen shortly after the EMTs arrived about the Googling the hypothermia symptoms. Now, this is where the infamous "house to die in cold" search comes from. McCabe says she mistyped the phrase due to her MS and doesn't even actually recall looking at the results. She says her fingers get really cold and her motor skills become kind of unfunctioning due to the weather. Again, she says she doesn't even remember looking at the results because the scene was pretty chaotic and then they moved on to something else. The prosecution leaned onto her trauma throughout her whole entire testimony, asking her again and again about her mental state. Her answer was always, I was in shock and I went through so much trauma and I still have trauma and I was in shock. McCabe also said that she went into her brother-in-law and sister's house. Those are the people that own 34 Fairview Road. Upon police request, she went and woke them up. She went upstairs. Moments later, they got dressed, walked downstairs, and saw police officer Lieutenant Michael Link. He was inside. She made note that he was inside the front door. Not long after that, her husband Matt shows up, and then conveniently, Julie Albert, who is Brian Albert's sister-in-law, appears to drop something off, which I find is kind of strange timing here. Then she spoke about how she needed to go get her kids because she had 4 kids at home and they were by themselves, so she left. She also said that at that point, she was contacted by State Trooper Michael Proctor, but told him that they needed to come to her house to interview her because she had kids at home. So Police Trooper Michael Proctor and Sergeant Yuri Buchanek went to Jen McCabe's house to interview her. Now, Proctor is the lead investigator on this case, and his wife, by the way, is friendly with the Albert family. That is likely to come up again soon. McCabe says this is where she told both of those officers about Karen's possibility of hitting John. And she also says she told them about the broken taillight. Then she says the next day she goes over to John McCabe's house, spends time with the family, friends, does the consoling. You know how that goes when somebody passes away. Now it's time for cross-examination, and the defense, I would say they came in swinging. However, a little shaky, in my opinion, at first, and we're not done with the defense here. We have a whole nother day, day 8, which is going to come on Friday, that they're still going. But I will say, I wasn't totally impressed with the defense at first, but I think they're getting somewhere. Alan Jackson, you know, Karen Reed's attorney, he gets up there and starts asking McCabe about her communication with Carrie Roberts. I mean, it was the same on Carrie Roberts asking about Jen McCabe. I guess they're trying to define that they have a very good friendship right now, and they maybe colluded on where this timeline needs to be. So McCabe says yes, she talked to Carrie Roberts the night before her testimony, but of course they did not talk about the testimony at all. They just talked about their kids, and he asks also about, did you talk about what happened that night? McCabe says, sure, we have talked about that night numerous times, but we have never talked about our testimony. Jackson also asked about how many times she met with prosecutors before this testimony and this retrial, and her answer was about 4 to 5 times. He pushed pretty hard on her here. He said, were you coached? He mentioned her family life, her role as a sports mom. And she said no, that she wasn't coached on how to testify, that she was just told to slow down and answer to the best of her memory. I tend to think she was coached a little bit just because of last testimony versus this testimony. But remember, we're the jury and we don't actually know, or we're not supposed to know. However, we probably all could figure it out at this point, that there was a testimony before this trial. Jackson also did highlight McCabe's connection with several family members in the Boston and Canton PD, and again pointed out her ties to the Alberts. Things got a little tense, and the judge didn't really like, and this is like kind of my opinion, but I think this is what the jury's thinking, that the judge didn't like how the defense was questioning Jen McCabe. So she takes a sidebar. Well, the sidebar lasted longer than most sidebars, to the point where she actually cleared the entire courtroom. We don't know what happened. I did read somewhere that there was some loud commotion coming from the judge's quarters, but I don't know what happened. Eventually, the jury was brought back in and court resumed. Now, when court resumed, things got a little murky, in my opinion. Jackson started asking McCabe if she had ever been contacted by any other law enforcement agency besides the state police or state troopers or Canton PD about Karen Reed's case. Now, he's alluding to a separate federal investigation, one that has since been concluded with no charges, but the jury I don't think they know that. I know they don't know that. And so the exchange feels a little cryptic to me. McCabe admitted that she did speak briefly to those investigators, and she says something like, after taking 10 minutes to get ready, she spoke briefly to them, but then got uncomfortable and decided not to talk to them any longer. We can speculate here as to what this is about. I think we'll break down this a little bit on our Patreon because we are, it's kind of off the track of what the jury hears, but it is an interesting fact to this case that the jury isn't going to hear. He then questions her about what she told the feds about calling people before they spoke to her that day. She actually originally told the feds that she talked to 2 people, but then later admitted that she actually talked to 5 people, including John's mom, a witness advocate, and Brian Albert, along with her husband and Carrie Roberts. So was she lying? I mean, she says no. She just forgot that she had spoke to those people earlier. But to the jury, this back and forth may not inspire confidence in Jen McCabe, but it also could just be such a confusing mess. They don't even know what he's talking about. And that's kind of how I took it a little bit. Jackson then turned to the night before John died at the Waterfall Bar and Grill. McCabe said she saw no tension between John and Karen and didn't think they were drunk either. She described some playful shoving between Brian Higgins and Brian Albert, but said it seemed pretty harmless, that they were just messing around. Then she said she invited Karen and John back to the house and actually asked Karen if she wanted to ride with her, but Karen declined, saying that she was just going to stay with John. Jackson also then asked her about the dog, which we will get into, I'm sure, a lot later, but this is her sister's dog and was at the house that night, or presumably was at the house that night. He asked her when she went upstairs if the dog barked, if she saw the dog, if she knew the dog slept in the room with her sister and brother-in-law, and she doesn't remember. She doesn't remember the dog. She doesn't remember the dog barking. She said, it was chaotic, and she just doesn't remember if the dog was even there. What she really remembers is what I got from her testimony is that Karen says, I hit him 3 times. Everything else she seems pretty fuzzy on. She is constantly saying she doesn't recall or she doesn't remember. She did testify that she does remember seeing Karen's SUV outside of 34 Fairview Road early that morning. She claims she saw the car slightly move a couple times. She also does say she saw the Jeep, but then when was questioned about the Jeep a little bit longer, and the Jeep is Brian Higgins, by the way, Jeep, which was behind or near Karen's car. She can't really remember anything about the Jeep or the Jeep's movements or even another car pulling up, but she does remember Karen's specific car and where it moved. She says it moved, I guess 3 times. She saw it when it was there. Then she saw it near the flagpole, and then she saw it again in front of the flagpole. He questioned the timing of these text messages that she was sending basically when she was looking out the front door and seeing Karen's car. Jen texted John O'Keefe when the vehicle was outside 5 times, and this is between 12:27 and 12:25. The first one was like here, exclamation question mark or question exclamation mark. And then a few others after that. He questioned if she saw anything unusual on the lawn between that time. And she said she did not. She never saw John on the lawn. She just saw Karen's car move and, like I said, eventually passed that flagpole. There was another car that did pull up that she said she saw the headlights to, but never actually saw that car. And that car was Ryan Nagel's car. He pulled up at some point in that night while Karen was sitting there in her car. The defense questioned McCabe on asking for a screenshot from Julie Nagel. That's Ryan's wife. She was actually in the house at the time when Ryan pulled up. And this text message it said here, basically, giving a timestamp on when Ryan pulled up. Now, I don't know why she would question Julie on this text message. She asked Julie for a screenshot of it. Julie sent the screenshot over. I think the defense is trying to say that McCabe is putting a timeline together for herself. She was then pressed on her past grand jury testimony. Now, Jackson confronted her with a 227-page transcript. Listen, no one's reading that. And in it, she never said that Karen repeated this phrase, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him 3 times. But now she is insistent on the fact that she does say that. Now, they bring the paperwork to the witness, and then the witness kind of reads over it, and then she says, oh yes, I recall that in my memory that I did say that. Well, Jen's pretty good at basically saying like, okay, I see that's on the paper, but that's not my memory. She did this multiple times. And in this instance, she's like, I'm not going to read 227 pages here to tell you that I did or did not say that. But the defense, clearly said like, you didn't say it at all in this grand jury testimony that you gave just months after John O'Keefe passed away, which was in April of 2022. She insists Karen did in fact say this 3 times. She says basically her memory is just as fresh today as it was 3 years ago.
This is driving to Fairview. She asked, what if I hit him? Could I have hit him? Correct?
Can you tell me the lines?
I'm sorry, lines 23 and 24. Page 201.
Okay, sorry. Okay, I've read it.
She stated, according to you, what if I hit him? Could I have hit him? Correct?
Yes, she did.
Page 202, top of the page, line 1 and 2. Again, in context, this is driving to Fairview, before you arrived at Fairview. And she again asked, quote, according to you and your testimony in front of the grand jury, could I have hit him? Correct?
Yes, I see that here as part of my answer.
Then turn to page 208, lines 24 and 25.
I'm sorry, what? Lines 24 and 25?
Lines 24 and 25, let me know when you've
I've read them,
reviewed
thank you.
those. For context, this is at the scene, outside Fairview.
Yes.
And you told those grand jurors under oath, she asked, did I hit him? Could I have hit him? Correct?
Yes.
Ms. McCabe, your full statement at page 208, starting at lines 22 through 25, going on to page 209, down to line 4, was, quote, so there are different, police officers getting statements from us. And at one point I'm standing with Miss Reed and she's saying, did I hit him? Could I have hit him? And there was, I believe, an EMT, a female, standing right next to me, listening to her yelling, did I hit him? Could I have hit him? Is he dead? Is he dead? Is he dead? It was pretty much nonstop. That was your testimony in front of the grand jurors, correct?
Yes, it was.
And that was April 26th, 2022, correct?
Correct.
One time, Ms. McCabe, did you utter the phrase, I hit him, as it relates to my client in front of that grand jury on April 26, 2022? Did you? Not once.
I'd have to read through the 227 pages to see.
As you sit here today, do you remember ever saying to those grand jurors, she said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, in front of a female EMT?
I've spoken to in a few grand juries. What I said specifically at different ones, I don't recall at this moment, but I do know that morning your client said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him 3 times, and there was a female EMT there.
Okay, Judge Cannoni basically was ready to call it for the day, and then there was one last heated exchange. Jackson said to the court, I can't end it like this, and asked to have a final question. The judge told the jury to disregard that comment, but obviously we all heard it, so it's kind of hard to not forget about it. And I think McCabe came in pretty hard here and said, Karen showed up at my house screaming. I went out to help her look for John. Then we found one of my closest friends on the lawn. She was acting crazy and erratic, and I tried to answer every officer's question to the best I could. I was in shock, but the minute I remembered, she said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. I called Officer Lank. I mean, I don't know if that is where the defense wanted to end for the day, but that is where we ended. So still tracing on with this witness who forgets many things except that phrase. She does not forget that. So we have a quick break. We will be back with you for day 8. So stay tuned. Don't forget that we do have a Patreon. That's patreon.com/thealternate. We kind of break it down. Margot and I get together and really talk shop. And please don't forget to rate and review us and share our podcast with your friends. Until next time, we'll see you then.